I was in seminary at the time, I think in philosophy studies, and at St. John de Dione Seminary, they require that you fulfill a certain number of benchmarks throughout the formation process. And one of those benchmarks was teaching an RCIA or confirmation class. So I went to our Capuchin parish here in Denver, Annunciation, and they said, well, we need someone to teach a high school confirmation class. And I said, it's going to be an absolute waste of time. These young people don't respond, they're not interested. And that was my experience. They didn't respond and they weren't interested. And I quickly realized I couldn't use Aristotle and Aquinas with them because they found that very boring. And so I need to find a way to speak to their experience by sharing my own experience.
That's really how it sprouted. You know, when I first came to Denver, it was in 2014. Denver's known, I think, throughout the country for being like just this hotspot for active, on fire, you know, young adults. And I think that's where it started for me, because it's like, you just have a desire for beauty, desire for goodness, desire to experience God and a lot of different things. And other people are like sharing in that as well. There's people who are not even in religious life, who take very seriously the faith, you know, and because of that, it's like, I gotta be on point in my prayer life, like I gotta be on point in my spirituality, everything that I believe. And the thing that's the most enriching to me is just being able to relate with other people who have the same faith as me, the same kind of spirituality.
I think today it's youth ministry is doing triage because of the culture that we're living in. The temptations that they have, they're so strong. The culture is like an absolute tidal wave, and they can so easily get swept away. And so for me, it's not about making them saints. It's about keeping them in the church through these very, very difficult years. And if I can keep them in the church till they're in their 20s, they'll stay in the church. The reality is, over 85% of kids today, high school kids who make confirmation, leave the church within 10 years. They're no longer identify as Catholic. So if we can just keep them in the church, give them a community where they can talk about their experiences, where they can pray, where they can experience the love and the mercy of Jesus Christ, and get them through this really, really difficult period, I think they're going to be okay. As I was getting closer to making final vows, you know, I had made peace with the idea that, you know, I would never get married, I would never have a family in that sense, a wife, but I was still struggling a lot with, and it hit me very hard right in my final vows retreat, wow, I'm never going to have children. And there was a profound sense of sadness in that. And I recognized that God was asking me to offer that as a suffering, as a cross. And I did, thinking, okay, that's true, I'll never have children. And then one of the ministries that I got involved in the most, and that I've been doing now for 15, 16 years, is youth ministry, high school youth ministry. And it's just such a surprise the way God acts, you know, because you think, well, it's true, I'm not going to have biological children, but here's 50 kids and they all call you father and they relate to you and they tell you their struggles and their problems as a spiritual father. I
don't go plan like a camping trip because it's like, oh, I'm going to go and talk to them about Christ, or like go and like be, you know, an evangelical like conduit. You know, that's not the intention. To me, like the intention is mostly like, I'm just going to go and be me. And it's a real grace, I think. It comes from the grace of the order, grace of like ordination. They happen to see like, you know, God's grace, God's mercy, God's love like working in you, you know?
So our youth ministry program revolves around 3 different types of nights that we have. And so one is what we call a life night or a teaching night. And so on these nights, either myself or someone else will proclaim the gospel, give a catechesis, allow them to ask questions, and then we'll break into small groups so that they have the opportunity in a more intimate and comfortable setting to share their experiences of whatever this topic is and to be open with their group leader.
You were asking me, what kind of ministry do you do? And it's like, there's a lot, you know. I don't really like to do one thing, you know. So like sporting events in the summertime, just being present to like the young adults who are already doing those things, like Hollow, different like apps that have reached out and they ask like, hey, can you give a talk for this? Can you do this? Can you do that?
Then we'll also have praise nights. And so praise nights are nights where we'll have Eucharistic adoration with the opportunity for confession. There's music, and they love these nights. So they're very powerful.
One of the things that I enjoy doing is seraphic praise, just like this evening of worship, combined with confession and preaching, you know.
And then the other nights we call social nights. And on social nights, we do only fun stuff. Because if it's not fun, they don't keep coming, not at their age, you know. So you have to make it meaningful, you have to make it powerful, but you also have to make it fun.
And that's what I love about the life, honestly, because there's so much, like, you can do anything. To me, it's amazing how that happens, because like one day I'll be like leading a worship, like the next minute I'll be like, you know, on the phone call because a friend of mine is like in the hospital or something. Itinerancy is huge in the life. With all the activities, like I think that's kind of the overarching part, you know, like there's an itinerancy to like a lot.